Hello, my name is A. Joseph Dupre III. I'm a Cloud Solutions Architect at Keysight Technologies, and today I'm going to walk through the process of deploying IxLoad Virtual Edition on Google Cloud Platform, otherwise known as GCP. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with just confirming that we have kind of a clean slate over in Google Cloud Platform here at GCP. So at least for my particular user owner label, there's nothing created. Same is true with the networks, network peering. It's all there are objects in Google Cloud, but those are created by other people. So we'll come back and take a look at those later, or there are other projects that are being worked on. So we'll come back and refresh that later. But you can see, for instance, there's no peering right now. And same thing with the firewall, we're filtered there. So what we want to do is show how to quickly and easily you can get up and running and deploying a working IxLoad setup on Google Cloud Platform. Let's hop over to GitHub. If you do a search on GitHub for Open Ixia for that project, you'll find a bunch of resources that you can use, and among them are resources for the public cloud. So you can search repositories on Open Ixia. If you do AWS-, you can see projects there that are active. You can search for Azure. And of course, today we're going to search for GCP-. You can see there's a couple of projects there. We're going to focus on IxLoad deployment today. So I'm going to go and click on that. And I'm going to go ahead and copy the repo URL here, because we're going to use that in Google Cloud Platform. We're going to use the Cloud Shell. So I'm going to shift over to Cloud Shell here. So I've got a CLI that's built right into the Google Cloud Platform. I've got an empty directory here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a git clone, paste in my URL. That's going to pull down the repository. So I'm going to see that there's a repository now. If I go into GCP IxLoad, I can see that it's split into configuration and deployment. We'll come back to configuration later. I'm going to go into deployment first, because we want to start from scratch here. And we have examples, some shell examples, shell commands. We have some deployment manager commands. We've already done a video in the past on deploying Breaking Point on Google Cloud Platform, and that process is very similar. You pass the Jinja files to the deployment manager command line, and basically you can deploy that. So we're going to focus today on something a little newer, which is some Terraform examples. So I'm going to CD into the third one here, which is Terraform. We're going to see that there's an IxLoad example and an IxVM example. So IxVM just refers to when it's the VM1 virtual test appliances by themselves, or IxLoad also includes the Windows client, so that you can run a full topology right there in the cloud. And that's what we're going to do today, is have Terraform deploy everything for us. So if we go into IxLoad, we're going to see, I'll do a clear here so you can see better, that there are two directories. One's a 1VM1 example, like a 1-arm test, and the other one's a 2VM1, which is a 2-arm test. So we want that because we want to send traffic between two VM1s, and it's actually going to go from one VM1 virtual test appliance in one VPC to another virtual test appliance in another VPC. And that's a great way for you to get started and get the basics. If you're already familiar with IxLoad, Virtual Edition in particular, and maybe you've run it on private cloud, VMware, KVM, or maybe you've run it on OpenStack or one of the public clouds like AWS or Azure, you may just want to get familiar with Google Cloud Platform. Maybe that's new to you. This is a great way to get going. So we're going to go in there with the two VM1s, and that'll deploy 3 instances. And do an ls, and you're going to see the standard main.tf and variables.tf. So this is a very simple Terraform setup. Now what I'm going to do is, we could pass in through the variables file, we could pass in some input arguments to the command line, but I'm just going to go ahead and show you real quick. We're going to go edit this together, take a look at it. So I'm just going to expand that same structure here. the two VM1s, and we're going to just modify the variables file. One of the things I need to do is take kind of the generic example project and change that to something that's actually I have access to. So I'm going to do okay, and that should be my project. And you can always verify that if you need to over in Google Cloud Land. So, you know, your ID is there. So that's my ID, cancel. Okay, so I'm just personalizing this. The other thing I want to do is go to Google, and you can ask Google what your IP address is, because you want the public IP address that you're going to be trying to, that's your inbound, your ingress IP address. So that's the one that goes into your security filters, your ingress security group, for example. So I want to flip down here. So I edited GCP underscore project underscore name, which is a variable. And I'm also going to just string replace. Oops, I'll do it this way. I'm just going to paste my IP address. Your IP address will be different, and I'm just going to leave the rest of the stuff the same. It actually is going to auto save for me by default in the editor here. So I'm just working in Cloud Shell and Cloud Shell Editor. We should be able to put this away so we can see better. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a Terraform init, because it's the first time we're doing this. So we have to initialize, get the plugins, initialize the state, which is going to be effectively empty. I'm going to do a Terraform. We'll do a Terraform version just to show you that this happens to be run with 0.12.24. If I do a Terraform validate real quick, we can see that there's a warning that we're using an experimental feature, but otherwise the configuration is valid and successful. It's just telling us that with our particular version, this is a little bit older. It's even telling us there in the version file that there's a newer version, 0.14.4. So we can just use this with the experimental feature turned on. That variable validation has actually been incorporated into the main line in Terraform in later versions anyway. But just for this, everything looks good so far. I'm going to do a Terraform apply. I'm going to click yes. And off it goes. It's going to do all the heavy lifting for us. It's going to build the networking. It's going to build the subnets, the firewalls in this case, all the security stuff we need, and the actual 3 instances that we need as well. Now, while that's going, let's take a look at what's kind of being built. So some of the stuff that's built first is going to be the networking. So if we kind of click on this again, the peering may not have been yet. Actually, it is. Okay, so it's active. So that's a good sign. It means that the VPC that we built, which is going to have, if I filter some of the default stuff out, you can see there's some GCP ones that were just created, management, and 2 test networks, again, in 2 different VPCs. And we're going to peer those together to be able to send traffic end-to-end between clients and servers. And this is so fast typically that if we turn over here, we can see that it just popped up that 19 resources were created, 0 chains, 0 destroyed. So I'm going to hit return a little bit and clear. So I can bring that prompt back up to the top here. And this is really great. I mean, that's how fast Terraform can do this stuff for a simple topology. If we go over to the instances and do a refresh now, we should find some stuff caught by our filter, and we do. We see one, that's the Windows machine. We see a VM1 and another 01 and another VM1 02. Those are our load modules. That's where we're going to send the traffic. We'll see that, make a note that there's 10.0.10.11 and 10.0.10.12 are the management IP address, the command and control network that communicates to between the Windows client and the actual virtual load modules. to tell them what to do so they can generate traffic on their other ports, on their test ports. Okay, so let's go in here and let's click on one thing we need to do, which is we need to set a Windows password, because these are dynamically created and each environment's new and unique. So we need to set a Windows password. I'm going to create a dummy user, GCP underscore Ixia. And I'm going to hit set in a moment. I do need to give a disclaimer that any instances you see here, any topologies, any objects, any usernames, passwords, licensing, all that stuff is all going to be destroyed. It's all ephemeral. It's going to be all destroyed or expired prior to the upload of this video. So none of this stuff is going to persist. It's going to be shut down immediately after this recording. So prior to this recording getting posted, everything will be destroyed. So I just wanted to make that appropriate disclaimer, because we're going to get an ephemeral, generated password. So again, all this stuff will be destroyed, but I'm going to use that. I'm going to go back here. So I just copy, because we want to show you. I mean, that's how fast deployment's super easy, because Terraform does all the work for you, and then you should be able to run a pretty simple IxLoad test without too much trouble. So we just want to show you that real quick. So I'm going to click on the RDP. It's going to ask me if I want to download the RDP file, which I do. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to go here and click on this, and it should already be pre-populated with information that I need. That's fine. Connect. If I set my security group properly, and I got that from Google just asking what my IP address is, if I change my user to my ephemeral user here, just going to do Ixia. Yep, I'm going to temporary password, and I'm going to hit OK. And let's try connecting. It's a pretty good sign there. Again, I only modified 2 properties of the template, of the variable section of the template. So all this other stuff is being built for me automatically. And we're going to go in. This is the first time this machine has been initialized, so it's going to do the first new user thing, and it's going to spin up some things that we don't necessarily need, like the server manager and stuff like that. So we're going to give a couple of minutes here quickly to let it do that thing. While it's doing that, I'm going to personalize this a little bit. While we're waiting patiently, I'm going to tweak some of the settings here. Just so I can see what I'm doing. I like to see the extensions and remove the checkboxes. So put that away. We don't really need the jobs manager, but it seems to be spawning there. It'll do that probably automatically. Must have accidentally hit it when. So there's a couple of things that are going to auto start, of course, as a part of a new Windows machine. An initial boot up. So we don't really need this stuff right now. What I am going to do is I'm going to launch IxLoad in the background, because that'll take a few minutes to get going. So let's get that Windows GUI up and running, get that kicked off and started. I am going to also first pull, I want to get a copy of that GitHub repository. And actually what I want to do is I'm going to grab this link straight to the repository and just pull it up inside the machine. You can see IxLoad. So we'll launch this. Do a quick paste. And I'm going to download the repository. Download zip. And then I'm going to go open that in the folder. So we don't need this anymore. Actually, it looks like it's still downloading. Did not complete the download. Okay, just took a second to get that. It's probably because there's a lot of processes and things going on. So let's refresh that. We can unzip it, extract it. We've already done the deployment from this directory, but we'd like to have some sample configuration files. So there was another subdirectory in there that was configuration, and this has some just very basic, is this working sort of sanity checks that you can use. So some existing IxLoad configuration files that we can do a quick little sanity run, and they actually match up with the topology that is being created by Terraform. So we'll wait patiently for IxLoad to do its initialization. And I'm also going to register things that we need to do. So this is all standard IxLoad Virtual Edition. We'll come back here, and I'm just going to quickly copy one thing. Oh, here comes IxLoad. I'm going to go back here for a moment. And again, all of this will be destroyed. All these licenses and instances and such are going to be destroyed prior to this video. We're just going to quickly register. So we can run a basic test, and you can see, again, how easy it is to go from literally nothing but a Google Cloud account. So close that, go offline here. Okay. We need to open, well, first we need to identify where our license server is. So again, if you're already familiar with IxLoad, this doesn't go into that level of detail, but there's lots of videos and tutorials and training you can get from our team on that. I just want to show you that I can run traffic and that the Terraform did all that work for us. So if I load now a file, one of those sample files, and the key thing is that, remember, we'll do a review, but I basically did this all from, other than, getting a license from your sales team to run the product, you can get all the files that you need on GitHub, and then using those within Google Cloud, you can pull down all the instance files and images. You can build those very, very easily. So it's a really, really convenient way to get started and get going, and then you can expand those templates and make them your own. I'm going to go to the download folder. Actually, it's here. Go here, a couple levels into configuration. I'm going to grab this one here, and I'm just going to grab a web test real quick. Again, you'll have to personalize and make your test your own. But this is if you need a quick example to figure out if something's working. You can use that. It'll take a moment or two to load that repository, initialize. In this case, I'm talking about IxLoad configuration repository. Just waiting patiently for that to load. Should be any moment now. Okay. So I'm going to go over to ports, and you may remember that I had briefly mentioned that there was 10.0.10 is the management network, and there was an 11 and a 12. for the virtual test appliances, the VM1s. If I refresh this, this is already stitched together. So the connectivity between the management and of those different machines and the Windows machine here is all stitched together for you, all ready to go. So then it's just a matter of applying config. Let's push down the actual test situation. It's going to reset the ports and come back up and push down the configuration. Make sure everything checks out properly. So it's downloading some packages right now. It looks good. So it's configured the network traffic. And looks like it's ready to go. Test is configured. Press start to begin. So we'll just take a look real quick at what we're trying to achieve here. So we've got a throughput objective of 30 gig. And we're going to go ahead. Again, this is a 2 virtual test appliance, or a 2 port in this case. We're using 1 port each on those appliances, generating traffic again between one VPC peered to another VPC. And we should just be able to hit go here. And we can start running our test. And that's all there is to it. So you can see that Terraform saves a lot of time. And can build you the topology that you want in a reproducible way. We'll just customizing some of these stats here for us for a moment. And there goes the test. And you should see it's going to ramp up pretty fast. So it's trying to achieve that objective, creating users and connections and transactions to get up to that 30 gig, right? So we'll see how it actually behaves, and you'll get the real-time traffic as it's going along. And so you're basically there doing your test and measurement. So I just want to, while this is running a little bit, I just want to review again how quick and easy this was. Again, we started really with an empty Google Cloud platform. You have to have a project ID that you're going to need to remember. We pulled down the files from OpenIxia, GCP IxLoad, and we brought that over into Cloud Shell, right? And if we do a quick history, you can see some of the commands that we've recently done. So, we cloned, we did a git clone here, we moved into that directory. We did some editing of the file to personalize it to our particular project in our inbound IP address. And then we ran some Terraform commands, init, we checked the version if that matters. We have any issues there, we validated it if we need to, and we did a Terraform apply basically, which does a recheck of all the things and basically creates everything. And it did that very quickly. In fact, if we scroll back up here, we can see all the objects that it built. So Terraform, again, will tell you what objects it's building. It will indicate green pluses or red minuses if it's removing something, but green pluses if it's adding something. Since we started out with a basic state that was basically empty, this created a nice topology that we use for demonstrations, but also, again, really convenient for customers who, again, may already be very familiar with IxLoad Virtual Edition on other hypervisors and other cloud platforms, and are just looking to get either they're not familiar with Google Cloud, or they're looking to get quick started on Google Cloud. So that's a great way to do that. And we'll just hop back over for a moment, and we can see that we're basically coming right up against that 30 gig there. So this will keep running for about 6 minutes, but I'm going to go ahead and basically stop here. First, take a moment to thank you for your time. We appreciate that. We encourage you to go on to YouTube and search for the Ixia Training TV channel. You can subscribe and ring the bell to get alerts when new videos like this do get posted. You will see that there are some playlists for the various public clouds, for particularly by products. So if you're interested in the IxLoad, you look at the IxLoad public cloud playlist, and this video will be posted once we've destroyed all the resources and expired everything out. But that's basically IxLoad virtual edition deployment on Google Cloud Platform, GCP, in a nutshell. Thanks for watching.